Vivian Vance, the lovable Ethel Mertz, died alone in a forgotten abandoned house. Her tragic final days shrouded in mystery and heartbreak. Few know about the painful collapse of her marriage, the cruel loneliness she endured, or the shocking truth about the fortune she left behind. This is not the glamorous Hollywood ending anyone expected. Prepare to uncover the dark secrets hidden beneath the laughter. Comment below. Did you grow up watching I Love Lucy? Type 1 for yes, 0 for no. Let's see how many of us still remember the magic. Vivian Vance's tragic death. Vivian Vance, best known to millions as the irascible but charming Ethel Mertz from the legendary television sitcom I Love Lucy, died on August 17, 1979, at the age of 70. Metastatic breast cancer, a terrible and persistent illness, took the life of one of television's most beloved actresses. Her death signaled the end of an era, not just in the entertainment industry, but also within her inner circle of friends and colleagues, who had grown to consider her as more than just a superb actress. During her later years, Vance's cancer fight was kept confidential, with just a few close family members and friends being aware. Despite the gravity of her illness, she remained dignified and strong, retaining the elegance and wit that had won her so many admirers throughout her life and career. Her death was a huge loss to the entertainment industry, felt keenly by those who had worked with her and admired her from afar. Desi Arnaz, her long-standing I Love Lucy co-star, and a guy with whom she shared not just the stage but also an everlasting relationship, was among many severely impacted by Vance's death. Arnaz, who played Ricky Ricardo opposite Lucille Ball's Lucy, was among the first to openly express his grief at Vance's death. In an emotional statement, he added, "It's bad enough to lose one of the great artists with whom we've had the honor and pleasure to work, but it's even harder to reconcile the loss of one of your best friends." This remark highlighted the strong link formed between Vance and Arnaz over years of work, mutual respect, and friendship. Their bond extended beyond the television screen, touching on a real kinship formed through shared experiences on set and elsewhere. Vance's talents to I Love Lucy were not limited to her depiction of Ethel Mertz. She was a key factor in the show's success. Her keen wit, amazing comedic timing, and ability to inject warmth and relatability into her character made her an indispensable member of the ensemble. The audience's fondness for Ethel demonstrated Vance's ability to create a character whose frustrations, pleasures, and challenges were similar to those of ordinary viewers. Following Vance's death, her family decided to celebrate her memory in a meaningful way. They gave her an Emmy Award, which she had received for her great work on I Love Lucy, to the Albuquerque Little Theater. This gesture not only preserved her legacy at a site that promotes the theatrical arts, but it also represented her lasting connection to her roots and the trade she adored. The trophy became a physical reminder of her accomplishments and role in defining early television history, motivating future generations of performers and viewers alike. Years later, in a 1986 interview, Lucille Ball, Vance's close friend and co-star, gave her thoughts on rewatching I Love Lucy repeats and seeing Vance's performance through new eyes. Ball remembered that during the show's first run, she frequently had to multitask or focus on other parts of the production, such as viewing episodes in the projection room rather than fully immersing herself in the performance. But as time went, Ball became enthralled by Vance's talent. Ball explained that he now spends most of his time staring at Viv. "Viv was fantastic, but I had responsibilities at the time. I was in the projection room for some reason, but I couldn't concentrate. But now I can, and I relish every motion Viv makes. She was something." Ball's statements demonstrated her deep appreciation and regard for Vance as a musician and person. She emphasized how Vance's abilities had a timeless nature, eliciting renewed admiration even decades after the original performances. It is stated that, in addition to her great profession, Vivian Vance's homes have astounded many people. First, we must notice her stunning childhood house. Childhood home. According to reports, the Vance family began their quest to independence when Vivian was around 6 years old. Originally from Cherryvale, Kansas, the Jones family moved to independence in search of stability and opportunities. The family moved into a simple single-family home, typical of the early 20th century Midwestern United States. Although details such as the exact address and architectural specifics have remained private, most likely out of respect for current occupants and family privacy, historical context and local knowledge at the time helped paint a vivid picture of the environment in which young Vivian was raised. This house was most likely a small, wood-framed construction, typical of the region's working-class communities. It would have included utilitarian rooms that were simply organized, a kitchen where family meals were cooked, a living room where the family congregated, modest bedrooms lined with minimal but treasured items, and maybe a backyard where Vivian and her siblings played. These apartments were neither magnificent or lavish, but they provided the fundamental necessities for family life in a Midwest town during the 1910s and 1920s. Vivian resided there with her parents, Robert and Euphemia Jones, and 5 siblings. Robert Jones worked hard to provide for his big family, demonstrating the virtues of tenacity and dedication that were common among Midwestern families at the period. Vivian's mother, Euphemia Jones, was a devout, pious lady whose strong Christian views shaped the family's moral compass and everyday rituals. Vivian's budding creative goals and her mother's stringent religious beliefs formed a conflict that shaped much of her early life. Vivian had a strong interest in the performing arts from an early age, which frequently contradicted her mother's expectations of her. Euphemia's traditional ideals and suspicion of the theatrical world made Vivian's activities feel rebellious, causing stress in the home. According to people who knew her, young Vivian would occasionally slip out of the house, desperate to attend theatrical events or acting courses, despite her mother's objections. These acts of young rebellion were more than simply disobedience. They represented a girl who understood from an early age that her future lay outside the limitations of a small Kansas town and the constraints imposed by her family's beliefs. Vivian began her dramatic arts study at Independence High School, where she was taught by Anna Engelman, a local theater instructor recognized for developing young talent. The high school was an important community institution, providing Vivian with a safe atmosphere in which to pursue her interests. Under Engelman's tutelage, she perfected the talents that would one day allow her to captivate national audiences on stage and television. Vivian's formative years were set against the backdrop of the family house, which she did not own. It was a place where she could reconcile the demands of family life with the draw of her goals. It included memories of whispered late-night rehearsals, secret dreams she harbored, and the daily trials of navigating a route ahead in a world that did not always encourage a girl to dream so openly. Though small and inconspicuous to the casual observer, this Independence home has historical significance as the site where one of television's greatest talents initially discovered her voice. It is now a private dwelling, standing silently as a testament to the upbringing of a girl who would grow into a lady who made millions laugh and brought warmth into their homes. Vance's career journey. Throughout the years, as Vivian Vance's career flourished, first on stage, then on film, and finally in the pioneering medium of television, her childhood home continued to serve as a reminder of her humble beginnings. In sharp contrast to the glitz and magnificence that would come to define her life in Hollywood, the simplicity of that cottage in the Midwest struck out as a striking contrast. On the other hand, her early experiences, which were influenced by the dynamics of her family, the modest conditions she was raised in, and her early interest in dramatic arts, were the foundation upon which her performances established reality and emotion. It was during Vivian Vance's time in Albuquerque, New Mexico, that she experienced a pivotal turning point in her journey from a girl from a tiny village to a well-known actress. After a stormy period that was characterized by disobedience among adolescents and a desire to break free from the restrictions of her upbringing, Vance took courageous decisions while she was in her late teens that would later change the trajectory of her professional career. She moved westward during this time period, first to Tulsa, Oklahoma, and subsequently to Albuquerque. She left the comfortable surroundings of Kansas and headed westward. Through the course of her travels, this little town in the high desert evolved into much more than merely a place to halt. As a result, it turned out to be the place where her aspirations began to develop, flower, and grow. Following her escape from her family when she was in her late teens, Vance made a brief stop in Tulsa. She was motivated by a great desire to follow her passion for acting. On the other hand, it was in Albuquerque that she genuinely made her home and started to carve out a place for herself in the world of theater. The city was a bustling cultural center in the late 1920s, with a lively, albeit tiny, artistic culture that fostered aspiring performers and playwrights. All of these things contributed to the city's success. While Vance was away from the bright lights of Broadway, she was able to hone her skills in an environment that was rich in inspiration and creativity. Albuquerque offered her the opportunity to do so. In the course of her time spent in Albuquerque, Vance made her home in a modest rental house that served as both a safe haven and a base of operations for her participation in the local theater scene. Despite the fact that there is a lack of specific information on the address, size, or architectural style of the house, the historical context implies that it was typical of the time period. It was a straightforward and functional home that was suitable for a young lady who was just beginning her life on her own. These residences were mainly single-story or modest two-story structures that had a few beds, a simple kitchen, and a living area that served as a practice space when it was required to do so. The climate and the local construction styles most certainly had an impact on the design of the house, which incorporates elements that were tailored to the dry and bright atmosphere of New Mexico. It was in this humble house that Vance would prepare for her performances and rest afterward. She would frequently practice lines late into the night and cultivate the abilities that would eventually fascinate larger audiences. The plainness of her living arrangements was a striking contrast to the glitz and splendor that she would eventually experience, but it served to highlight her dogged determination and unwavering commitment. In a trip that was driven by tenacity and a profound love for the stage, each day spent in that home was a step ahead in the journey. Vance's connection with the Albuquerque Little Theater, an organization that is well known for promoting local talent and presenting plays that varied from lighthearted comedies to serious tragedies, was an essential part of her time spent in Albuquerque. The community of theater enthusiasts in this area was very close-knit, and it placed a significant amount of importance on the zeal and effort of the players, directors, and volunteers. Within this society, Vance was cast in significant roles in shows such as this thing called Love and the Cradle Song, plays that pushed her range and broadened her powers. This community was the one who noticed Vance's ability at an early stage. As a result of the favorable reviews and increased adoration that her performances received, it became abundantly evident that she was meant to play on a more prominent platform. In spite of this, the journey from Albuquerque to New York was a challenging one. For a young actress who did not have any financial support, the notion of moving to a major city like New York looked intimidating because of the considerable expenditures that were connected with moving and living in such a city. In this particular location, the community of Albuquerque theater enthusiasts displayed their most uplifting and encouraging energy, seeing in Vance a great future that might bring fame not just to herself, but also to their town. People of the local theatrical scene came together to support her voyage to New York. They did this because they recognized her ability and potential, and because they saw in her such a promising future. Vivian Vance, the cherished actress who is best remembered for her role as Ethel Mertz on the television show I Love Lucy, resided on Old Long Ridge Road in Stamford, Connecticut, from the beginning of the 1960s until the end of the decade. A significant turning point in her life occurred during this time period, not only in terms of her personal life, when she tied the knot with her fourth husband, John Dodds, who was a well-known publisher, but also in terms of her professional life, when she successfully struck a balance between her growing television career and her life on the East Coast. Almost immediately after Vance tied the knot with Dodds in 1961, he made the purchase of a unique and historic White House that was situated in one of the more established areas in Stamford. In spite of the fact that there is a lack of specific information on the building's beginnings, the charming architectural design and historic character of the house make it a significant dwelling. The selling price of the property was probably somewhere in the range of $50,000 to $100,000. This was a significant expenditure at the time, reflecting both the exclusive nature of the neighborhood and the couple's wish to have a home base that was comfortable and tranquil, away from the chaotic pace of Hollywood. The home was not the only thing that existed on the land. The event was a retreat. There was a rock garden that gave a one-of-a-kind and meticulously manicured aesthetic to the environment. And there was also a barn on the grounds, which was an element that indicated a hint to pastoral peace in the middle of suburban expansion. These characteristics are meticulously described in The Other Side of Ethel Mertz, a piece of writing that delves into Vance's life beyond the glitz and glamour of television and into the more private times that she enjoyed in Stamford. While the rock garden exhibited a touch of creativity and connection to nature, the barn most likely acted as a multifunctional place, potentially for storage or hobby usage, in contrast to the television studios, where Vance's humorous abilities flourished. The rock garden was a tranquil counterpoint. Despite the fact that Vance resided in this Connecticut mansion, her profession required her to travel rather frequently. The Lucy Show, which ran from 1962 to 1965 and was a popular television program that carried the tradition of the I Love Lucy series, featured her as a main character for these 5 years. Due to this circumstance, Vance was required to make frequent trips between her home on the East Coast and Los Angeles, which is the heart of television production. Long flights and meticulous planning were required in order to maintain such a bi-coastal lifestyle throughout the early 1960s. This lifestyle required a substantial amount of logistical planning. Vance, on the other hand, was able to keep this equilibrium, proving both her career and her dedication to her personal life with dogs. Vivian Vance's Stamford home and the paranormal. In spite of the fact that she had a very hectic profession, the Stamford home provided a calming influence. In this region, she was able to take a break from the limelight, take pleasure in the tranquility of Connecticut's rolling hills and historic districts, and tend to her marriage without being subjected to the scrutiny of Hollywood. Over the course of several years, the residence served as a peaceful haven for Vance and Dodds, exemplifying a way of life that included elements of both refinement and rustic appeal. In the years that followed Vance's departure from Stamford, the mansion developed a new layer of mystery, not because of its design or celebrity connections, but rather because of rumors that circulated about the supernatural activities that took place there. After Melissa Lee, the current owner of the home, reported encountering inexplicable events, the Norwalk Paranormal Research Group decided to perform an investigation of the site in the year 2011. Lee mentioned feeling a female presence in the home, which sparked suspicion that the ghost of Vivian Vance, or maybe another unknown female entity, might be lingering there. Lee's description generated a lot of curiosity. These paranormal allegations were brought to the attention of aficionados of haunted locales after they were published in an article that was published in the Stamford Advocate, which sparked curiosity and generated attention. Nevertheless, the claims continue to be anecdotal, and there is neither scientific verification nor proof that can be substantiated beyond the testimony of the homeowner and the member of the inquiry group. However, despite the fact that these tales add a fascinating, however speculative, dimension to the history of the house, they are distinct from the life of Vivian Vance herself, which has been chronicled and praised. Over the course of the late 1960s, Vance came to the conclusion that he would sell his home in Stamford and go to California permanently. When she made this move, it marked the beginning of a new chapter in her life. It brought her closer to the center of the entertainment business and gave her the opportunity to concentrate entirely on her professional and personal goals on the West Coast. It was a key era of her life that was distinguished by love, job shifts, and the balancing act of East Coast domesticity with Hollywood fame. The sale of the Connecticut house brought an end to this chapter. The historic White House. The historic White House, which is located on Old Long Ridge Road, is still a private house in the present day. In spite of the fact that it is mainly hidden from public view, it continues to maintain its quiet dignity, and it continues to have a position in the history of American television. A physical link to the life of Vivian Vance beyond the screen, the house is a location where laughter, love, and the rhythms of ordinary life unfolded away from the cameras. This is something that fans and historians alike find significant. Vivian Vance, who is most known for her famous role as Ethel Mertz on I Love Lucy and subsequently on The Lucy Show, lived in one of the most affluent areas in Los Angeles for a brief period of time during the dynamic heyday of Hollywood in the 1960s. The property that she lived was a spectacular example of the traditional Southern California elegance that has long defined this enclave of majestic homes, tree-lined lanes, and an atmosphere of old Hollywood glamour. It was located in the Hancock Park District, which is a historic district. The house itself is a spacious single-family residence that is constructed out of brick and encompasses roughly 43,001 square feet. This generous size conveys both elegance and comfort. The mansion, which had 5 bedrooms and 5 bathrooms, was ideal for a Hollywood actress of Vivian Vance's reputation since it offered a sufficient amount of space for both a quiet retreat and for entertaining visitors in a refined manner. The architectural details of the home are reminiscent of the traditional allure of Hancock Park, which is well known for its preservation of early 20th century homes that combine styles such as Tudor Revival, Colonial Revival, and Mediterranean influences. These homes are all situated against a backdrop of mature avenues that are shaded and gardens that are meticulously maintained. In spite of the fact that there are few documents that provide specific information on the years that Vance lived in this house, It is generally accepted that her stay coincided with her time spent working on The Lucy Show in the early to middle 1960s. While she was in this period, Vance traveled between her permanent house in Stamford, Connecticut, and Los Angeles, which was the location where the majority of her television work was photographed. She was closely intertwined with the Hollywood culture, and the Hancock Park property functioned as a temporary yet opulent headquarters, affording a respite from the rigorous pace of production and a taste of the lifestyle that she came to associate with Hollywood. The inside of the home, which would have been a reflection of Vance's sophisticated tastes and the elegance of the age, would have most likely featured conventional woodwork, expansive sitting rooms, and classic finishes such as hardwood flooring, built-in cabinets, and ornate fireplaces. The carefully selected furniture, which were a combination of comfort and refinement, would have been illuminated by the natural light that would have been permitted to enter via the large windows. The fact that it had a number of bedrooms and bathrooms made it a perfect place not only for day-to-day living, but also for entertaining guests, whether they were members of the entertainment industry's family, friends, or co-workers. The fact that Hancock Park is known for being a safe haven for prominent persons and Hollywood's most powerful people lends even more weight to the significance of this property. Vance's residence is a part of a complex tapestry of celebrity histories, since this area has a long history of attracting stars in the entertainment industry, including actors, producers, directors, and cultural icons. The home itself has been owned by a number of noteworthy individuals in addition to Vance. For instance, Catherine McDonald, a silent film actress who was renowned as the American Beauty, used to call this mansion her home, which helps to establish a connection between it and the golden age of Hollywood, which occurred even before Vance's arrival. More recently, it was owned by Kyle Dennis, a well-known stock trader, and David Cooley, a notable nightclub owner in West Hollywood. This exemplifies the property's continued attraction to those who have achieved a great deal and are visible in their field. MeTV classified the property as a rental with a value of more than $1.95 million in the year 2016, which is a witness to the property's continuous popularity as well as the status of the Hancock Park area around it. Vivian Vance's move to Belvidier, California. Despite the fact that the property has historical links to Vivian Vance and other prominent persons, it continues to be a private mansion that is meticulously managed and maintained. Its tale is discreetly knitted into the fabric of Los Angeles celebrity real estate mythology. After getting a heartbreaking breast cancer diagnosis in 1974, Vivian Vance and her fourth husband, John Dodds, made a significant move to Belvidere, California. Belvidere is a tiny elite town situated in Marin County, and it is famous for its breathtaking views of San Francisco Bay as well as its calm and elegant ambiance. This migration was driven not only by the need for comfort amid her health issues, but also by the need to be close to family, notably Vance's sister, who lived nearby. Amid this time, our family was experiencing a lot of difficulties. Vance's life underwent a tremendous transformation as a result of the relocation, which brought her closer to the serene beauty of Northern California and away from the hectic pace of Hollywood. Belvedere, which is well known for its wealthy residents and its breathtaking views of the lake, provided Vance with the ideal atmosphere for her latter years. It was a tranquil refuge that was hidden from the public eye, allowing her to concentrate on her health, relationships, and overall well-being. The town's allure is derived from its meandering roads, its exquisite mansions, and the spectacular picture of the bay, which combines the natural beauty of the area with an understated luxury. Beginning with a rental property that was owned by the well-known interior designer Connie Wiley, Vance and Dodds made their home in this environment at the beginning of their relationship. Paige Peterson, an author who would later relate accounts of Vance's time spent in Belvedere in her memoir titled Growing Up Belvedere Tiburon, was the mother of Connie Wiley, a recognized person in the field of design. Connie Wiley was noted for her stylish and imaginative interior designs, and she was also the mother of Paige Peterson. During the time when Vance and Dodds were beginning to adjust to their new environment and deal with the difficulties that her sickness presented, their initial rental house provided Vance with a setting that was both comfortable and friendly. Despite the fact that there is a lack of information on the dimensions and design of this rental property, the fact that it is connected to Wiley's aesthetic sensibilities implies that it was a tranquil refuge that was meticulously built and was a good fit for Vance's requirements during that challenging period. In a short period of time following that, Vance and Dodds made the decision to purchase their own house in the neighborhood, which was a move that represented their determination to make Belvidier their permanent haven throughout her dying years. A more private and secure atmosphere was provided by the home, which was most likely purchased for a price ranging from $200,000 to $300,000, which was a significant amount during the middle of the 1970s. Despite the fact that specific architectural characteristics and square footage are not accessible, reports paint it as a cozy and friendly dwelling that strikes a balance between the intimacy and the subtle elegance that is typical of homes in Marin County. In the midst of her struggles with her health, this Belvidier house became the center of Vance's final years, a place where she could find comfort and strength whenever she needed it. It was at this location that she experienced the last stages of her illness, which had spread to her bones and ultimately resulted in her passing on August 17, 1979, when she was 70 years old. It was not enough for the home to just provide refuge. It was a place that was infused with the history of the individual, moments of caring, and meaningful moments of friendship. The fact that Lucille Ball, Vance's long-standing co-star and a close friend, came to visit this house is one of the most heartfelt memories that is linked with this house. Through a visit that was filled with a great deal of passion, Ball made his way to Belvidier in 1979 in order to bid farewell to Vance. According to Paige Peterson's recollections of her childhood in Belvidier, Tiburon, this farewell highlighted the profound connection that existed between the two ladies, who had been friends, co-workers, and kindred spirits throughout the decades. They had continued to support one another through both successes and difficulties. Not only did Ball's visit bring to light the personal influence that Vance had on people who were close to her, but it also brought to light the significance of the home as the venue where these great titans of American television held their final meeting. Vance maintained her presence in the public eye during this time period by virtue of her work in television commercials, most notably in the role of Maxine in a series of advertisements for Maxwell House Coffee. Despite the fact that she was dealing with her own personal health issues, she continued to maintain her connection to viewers with these advertisements, which highlighted her ongoing popularity as a warm and accessible figure. The contrast between her upbeat attitude on television and the struggles she had in her personal life in Belvidier lends an additional dimension of poignancy to her final years. Her home may be abandoned, her voice may have faded, but her legacy, as one of television's first true comedic geniuses, lives on. From behind-the-scenes struggles to on-screen brilliance, Vivian Vance was more than Ethel Mertz. She was a trailblazer, a fighter, and a woman whose story still deserves to be heard. Do you think Hollywood gave Vivian Vance the credit she truly deserved? Share your thoughts in the comments. Like this video if you still remember I Love Lucy, and subscribe for more powerful stories about the stars who shaped entertainment history.